Admiral Chen Zhang stood at the observation deck of Orbital Defense Station Aegis 7, her dark eyes fixed on the massive holographic display showing the edge of the Kuiper Belt. The alien ships had just appeared, 7 crystalline vessels that seemed to absorb starlight rather than reflect it. Their arrival was right on schedule. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the historic nature of the moment. "Surveillance drones are maintaining position, Admiral." Lieutenant Santos responded from his console. "The alien vessels haven't detected them. Our quantum camouflage is holding." Chen nodded, allowing herself a small smile. For 3 centuries, humanity had kept up the elaborate charade, carefully concealing their true technological capabilities behind a facade of primitive satellites and outdated space stations. The real human fleet remained hidden in subspace pockets throughout the solar system, waiting. The largest alien vessel, nearly 5 kilometers in length, moved forward. Right on cue, it transmitted a message in what they believed to be first contact protocols, mathematical sequences that gradually built up to basic language concepts. "How considerate of them," Chen murmured. "They're trying to teach us basic mathematics. Major Williams, please respond according to Protocol Omega-3. The communications officer nodded and activated Earth's carefully crafted response, a series of clumsy, primitive radio signals that made humanity appear to be struggling with basic interstellar communication. Aboard the Confederation vessel Light of Dawn, First Speaker Corax watched the primitive signals with satisfaction. His crystalline features shifted in the equivalent of a smile as he turned to his advisory council. "Another pre-spacefaring civilization," he announced. "Their technology appears to be roughly 3 centuries behind the Confederation standard. This should be a routine integration." "Shall we proceed with the standard diplomatic package?" his second speaker asked. "The usual offers of technological advancement in exchange for resource rights and political integration." "Of course," Corax replied. "Prepare thee." He stopped mid-sentence as new data flowed across his neural interface. Something was wrong with the numbers. The humans' primitive signals contained patterns, subtle mathematical sequences that shouldn't be possible for their apparent level of development. "Analysis," he commanded sharply. "The signals appear random at first glance," his chief scientist responded, her crystalline form flickering with confusion. "But there's an underlying structure that suggests." "First speaker, I believe they're testing us." Back on Aegis 7, Chen watched the aliens' confusion with grim satisfaction. "They've noticed the embedded sequences. Initiate Phase 2. Across the solar system, carefully hidden quantum sensors activated, beginning deep scans of the alien vessels. Every piece of technology, every communication, every energy signature was recorded and analyzed. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment, carefully preparing for first contact while watching the Confederation's expansion across the galaxy. They had watched as the Confederation integrated dozens of younger species, stripping their resources in exchange for carefully controlled technological advancement. They had observed the subtle subjugation wrapped in diplomatic niceties, and they had prepared. "First speaker." The second speaker's voice was urgent now. "We're detecting something. Energy signatures throughout the system, but they're unlike anything in our database." Corax's crystalline form darkened with concern. "Location?" "Everywhere. The signatures appear to be." "First speaker, they appear to be scanning us. With technology we don't understand." On Aegis 7, Chen received the final analysis. Quantum scan complete. "Admiral, we have full technical readouts of their vessels. Their technology is impressive, but as we suspected, they'd stagnated. Too many centuries of easy conquests." Chen straightened her uniform. "Send the second message. Let's show them what humanity has been doing while they've been playing Empire." Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden infrastructure began to reveal itself. Massive structures phased into normal space, orbital rings around every planet, Dyson swarms around the sun, shipyards that dwarfed the alien vessels. And ships, thousands of ships, each incorporating technologies the Confederation had never imagined. In the light of Dawn's command center, alarms blared as their sensors were overwhelmed. Corax watched in stunned silence as humanity's true face was revealed. The primitive species they had come to help had been hiding a civilization far more advanced than their own. "Impossible," he whispered. "How did they hide all this? Why did they hide it?" The answer came in a new transmission, this one in perfect Confederation standard language. "Greetings, Confederation vessels. We've been watching you for a very long time. We hid because we wanted to understand who you were and how you treated others. We've learned enough. Now it's time for us to talk about the future and about how the Confederation's policy of integration is going to change." The message was signed simply, Humanity. As Corax stared at the message, he realized that everything the Confederation thought it knew about expanding civilizations and first contact protocols had just been upended. They hadn't discovered a new primitive species to guide. They had awakened a sleeping giant that had been watching them all along. First speaker, his second speaker's voice was barely a whisper. "What do we do?" Corax stared at the massive human installations surrounding his ships. For the first time in his long life, he understood true fear. "We listen," he replied. "For once in our history, we listen." The conference room aboard Aegis 7 hummed with tension as Corax and his delegation faced Admiral Chen across a simple black table. The stark contrast between the room's minimalist design and the incredible technology they'd witnessed outside wasn't lost on the first speaker. "You understand our confusion," Corax said, his crystalline form refracting the room's soft light. "In 3,000 years of exploration, we've never encountered a civilization that could hide like this." Chen's smile remained diplomatic, but her eyes were steel. "That's because you've never encountered humans before. Dr. Harrison, please begin the briefing." A tall woman with graying hair stepped forward, activating a holographic display that filled the room's center. "What you're about to see is classified human history, specifically how we achieved our current level of development while remaining undetected." The display showed Earth, but not as the Confederation scouts had seen it. Gone were the primitive satellites and basic space stations. Instead, the image showed a planet surrounded by massive quantum engineering projects, all hidden behind layers of space-time manipulation. "We detected your first scout ships 312 years ago," Harrison explained, "while they were still 50 light-years out. That day changed human history forever." The hologram shifted, showing historical footage of Earth's leaders meeting in emergency session. "We faced a choice," Harrison continued. "Reveal ourselves and risk becoming another of your integrated civilizations, or hide and prepare. We chose the latter." "Impossible," one of Corax's scientists interrupted. "The energy requirements alone were solved within the first decade," Harrison cut in. "You see, humans have a unique characteristic. When faced with an external threat, we don't just adapt. We evolve. We innovate. We transcend our limitations." The display showed the rapid advancement of human technology, quantum engineering, dark energy manipulation, consciousness transfer, artificial universe creation. But it wasn't just technological progress on display. The images showed something deeper: humanity's transformation into a civilization that could think and plan in centuries rather than years. "We built in secret," Harrison explained. "Every visible human installation was a carefully crafted facade. Behind them, we constructed the real infrastructure of our civilization. We developed technologies your people haven't even theorized yet." Corax's form flickered with disbelief. "But the energy signatures, the quantum footprint, we should have detected something." Chen leaned forward. "You detected exactly what we wanted you to detect. Every scanner reading, every observation, every piece of data your scouts gathered was carefully engineered to show you what we wanted you to see." The hologram shifted again, showing vast underground cities, submarine bases that defied physics, and orbital installations that could hide entire fleets in pocket universes. But why? Korax asked. Why expend such effort to appear primitive? Because we watched you, Chen replied, her voice hardening. We saw how you helped other civilizations, how you guided their development along paths that served Confederation interests. We saw the species that resisted and how they were convinced to cooperate. Harrison took over again, the display now showing Confederation ships integrating other worlds. We learned from your patterns, and we decided to wait, to prepare, to become something you couldn't simply absorb into your empire. The Confederation doesn't. Korax began, but fell silent as Chen raised her hand. Please, she said quietly, don't insult our intelligence with denials. We've had 3 centuries to study your civilization. We know every treaty, every negotiation, every peaceful integration that ended with another world's resources flowing to Confederation centers. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just hidden their development, they'd used the Confederation's own actions as a blueprint for what not to become. So now what? Korax asked finally. You reveal yourselves as a superior power and demand our submission. Replace our empire with yours. Chen and Harrison exchanged glances before the Admiral spoke. That's what you would do, isn't it? But we've learned from your mistakes. We don't want an empire. We want something far more radical. The hologram changed one final time, showing a vision of cooperation between species that made Korax's crystalline form vibrate with shock. We want genuine partnership, Chen explained. Real cooperation between equals. But first, you need to understand exactly who and what you're dealing with. And what are we dealing with? Korax whispered. A species that spent 3 centuries preparing for this moment, Chen replied. Not preparing for war, though we could win one. Not preparing for conquest, though we could achieve it. We prepared for something far more difficult. The moment when we could help the Confederation become something better than an empire. The implications slowly dawned on Korax. Humanity hadn't revealed themselves to submit or to conquer. They had revealed themselves to change the very nature of galactic civilization itself. And as he looked at the determination in Chen's eyes, he realized they had the power to do exactly that. We'd like to show you something, Admiral Chen announced, leading the Confederation delegation toward what appeared to be a simple metal door in Aegis 7's wall. It's time you understood exactly what humanity has achieved while we waited and watched. Dr. Harrison placed her hand on a subtle indentation beside the door. Reality itself seemed to shiver, and suddenly they were no longer in a corridor, but in a vast spherical chamber that stretched beyond the limits of Confederation sensors. Impossible, one of Korax's scientists whispered. This space, it's bigger than your station. The station you can see is just a shell, Harrison explained. What you're standing in now is a quantum engineering lab, one of thousands we've built throughout the solar system. The chamber hummed with energy as holographic displays sprang to life around them. But these weren't simple projections. They were windows into other realities, other dimensions, other possibilities. 3 centuries ago, Chen continued, we discovered something your scientists dismissed as impossible. The ability to create and manipulate pocket universes, small ones at first, barely large enough to hold a few atoms. But we kept pushing the boundaries. In the center of the chamber, a miniature sun blazed into life. Around it, tiny planets formed and evolved, an entire solar system in miniature. But it wasn't just a model, it was real, a complete universe in microscale. This is how we hid, Harrison said softly. Not with cloaking devices or stealth fields, but by learning to fold space itself. Everything you thought you saw about Earth, it was real, just not in the universe you were looking at. Korax's crystalline form flickered with combinations of colors that indicated extreme stress. You're saying, your entire civilization exists in multiple dimensional spaces simultaneously. Chen finished. What you saw as primitive satellites were just anchors, points where our real infrastructure intersected with normal space. The demonstration continued as Harrison guided them through humanity's achievements. They watched as human scientists manipulated dark energy with the same ease the Confederation handled simple electricity. They saw quantum computers that didn't process information but restructured reality to make the answer they sought the only possible outcome. "But this isn't what we really wanted to show you," Chen said, leading them to the chamber center. "This is." The air shimmered, and suddenly they were looking at Earth. But not the Earth of carefully maintained primitive appearances. This was humanity's true home, transformed by centuries of hidden advancement. The planet was surrounded by massive rings of quantum machinery, like Saturn's rings made of pure energy and intelligence. The oceans teemed with cities that existed in multiple dimensions at once. The continents were covered in structures that seemed to defy physics itself. "We didn't just advance our technology," Harrison explained. "We transformed our entire way of thinking. We learned to see beyond simple cause and effect, beyond linear time, beyond the limitations of single universe physics." "Why show us this?" Korax asked, his voice trembling. "Why reveal your true power?" Chen's expression softened slightly. "Because you need to understand what you're really facing. Not just advanced technology, but a fundamentally different way of thinking about existence itself." The chamber shifted again, now showing the Confederation's territory, but overlaid with patterns and connections the aliens had never noticed. "We've spent centuries studying you," Harrison continued. "Not just your technology or your politics, but the fundamental patterns of your civilization. We understand your empire better than you do. We can see its flaws, its weaknesses, and its potential," Chen finished. "That's what we really want to show you. Not just what we've become, but what you could become." The display changed one final time, showing a possibility that made even the most hardened Confederation scientists gasp. It was a vision of their civilization transformed, elevated to levels they had never imagined possible. "We could have stayed hidden," Chen said quietly. "Could have let you continue on your current path until your empire eventually collapsed under its own contradictions. But we chose to reveal ourselves because we saw something in your people that reminded us of our own past." "What did you see?" Korax whispered. "The capacity to grow, to change, to become something greater than an empire built on subtle domination." Chen turned to face the first speaker directly. "We're not here to conquer you or to submit to you. We're here to offer you a choice." The chamber filled with images of joint human confederation achievements that could be. Technologies merged, perspectives combined. A genuine partnership between different species and ways of thinking. "You can choose to see us as a threat," Harrison added, "in which case we'll simply return to our pocket universes and let you continue on your current path. Or you can choose to work with us, to learn what we've learned, to grow beyond what you are now." Korax stared at the displays, at the impossible achievements, and even more impossible possibilities they represented. "And if we choose cooperation," he asked carefully, "what do you want in return?" Chen smiled, and for the first time, it reached her eyes. "We want what we've always wanted, partners in exploring the true nature of reality. Equals in the journey to understand what's really possible when different species work together instead of trying to dominate each other." The chamber hummed with possibility as Korax faced the most important decision in Confederation history: continue as they were, or take a step into an entirely new way of existing. The choice, as humanity had always known it would be, was entirely theirs. The negotiation chamber aboard Aegis 7 was designed to make a point. One wall showed real-time views of Earth's true form, another displayed the Confederation's territory, and the third showed the vast unknown expanses of the galaxy. The message was clear. There was room enough for all, if they could learn to work together. First Speaker Korax sat with his delegation on one side of the quantum crystalline table, its surface occasionally rippling with calculations made manifest. Admiral Chen and her team sat opposite, while Dr. Harrison stood at a holographic podium between them. "Let's begin with what we're not offering," Chen said, her voice carrying clearly in the perfect acoustics. "We're not offering to share all of our technology immediately. We're not offering to solve all your problems, and we're definitely not offering to submit to any form of Confederation control." Corax's form shifted, and what humans had learned was thoughtful acknowledgement. "Then what exactly are you offering?" Harrison gestured, and the space above the table filled with intricate patterns of light. "We're offering a partnership in stages. First, we help you understand where your civilization's current path leads." The patterns coalesced into a time stream projection, showing the eventual collapse of the Confederation's empire-building approach. Resources grew scarce, subjected species grew restive, and the careful balance of power began to crumble. "This isn't a threat," Harrison continued softly. "It's mathematics. We've run this simulation billions of times. The outcome is inevitable given your current methods. And you propose an alternative?" one of Corax's advisors asked. Chen nodded. "We propose teaching you how we achieved our advances, not by giving you the technology, but by showing you how to think differently, how to see reality as we've learned to see it." The projection changed, showing the gradual transformation of Confederation society, not through sudden upheaval, but through careful, guided evolution. "Your people aren't evil," Harrison explained. "You're stuck, trapped in patterns of thinking that worked for your early expansion, but won't sustain you much longer. We're offering to help you break those patterns." Corax's form darkened with concern. "And what do you want in return?" "Real partnership," Chen replied immediately. "Access to your historical records, cultural exchanges, joint exploration missions. We want to learn from you as you learn from us. Humanity may have advanced technologically, but we know we still have much to learn about being part of a galactic community." The projection shifted again, showing possibilities that made even the most skeptical Confederation scientists lean forward in fascination. Joint research projects, combined fleet operations, shared discoveries that neither civilization could achieve alone. "But there are conditions," Chen continued, her tone hardening slightly. "The practice of integrating less advanced species ends immediately. Instead, we establish a joint protection and guidance protocol. Species are allowed to develop at their own pace, with careful observation but minimal interference." "You would have us abandon our civilizing mission," one of Corax's senior diplomats protested. Harrison's response was gentle but firm. "We would have you recognize that true civilization doesn't need to be imposed. It grows naturally when species are given the chance to develop their own unique perspectives and solutions." The negotiations continued for hours, delving into specifics: how the transition would be managed, how currently integrated species would be given more autonomy, how joint human confederation teams would oversee the changes. Through it all, Corax remained thoughtfully silent, his crystalline form processing the implications. Finally, he raised a limb for attention. "A question, if I may," he said carefully. "You've shown us wonders, proved you could have destroyed or dominated us at any time. Yet you choose this path. Why?" Chen and Harrison exchanged glances before the Admiral answered. "Because 3 centuries ago, humanity faced a choice. We could have focused all our efforts on building weapons, preparing for war. Instead, we chose to develop in ways that would let us offer genuine partnership when the time came. We learned something important during our hidden years," Harrison added. "True power isn't about domination. It's about having the strength to offer peace from a position of absolute security. We're strong enough that we don't need to prove our strength through conquest." Corax's form shifted through multiple color patterns as he processed this. Finally, he spoke again. "And if we refuse, if we choose to maintain our current path, then we return to our pocket universes," Chen said simply. "Continue our development. Leave you to discover the truth of our projections on your own. We won't attack you. We won't need to." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Confederation faced a choice between continuing on a path that mathematical certainty showed would lead to collapse, or embracing a transformation that would challenge everything they thought they knew about civilization and progress. "There is one other factor to consider," Harrison said into the silence. "Show them, Admiral." Chen nodded, and the projections changed one final time. Now they showed something that made every member of the Confederation delegation freeze in shock. "While we were watching you," Chen explained, "we detected others watching all of us. There are older, more advanced civilizations out there, waiting to see how we handle our development. Your choice today isn't just about our two species. It's about whether we're ready to take our place among them." The future, as it always had been, hung in the balance of choice. 6 months after the initial negotiations, Admiral Chen stood in Earth's primary quantum observatory, watching as history unfolded across multiple dimensions. Dr. Harrison worked at a console nearby, monitoring the changes rippling through both human and Confederation space. The transition had begun. Another Confederation fleet just completed their refit, Harrison reported, studying the quantum readouts. That makes 30% of their total forces now equipped with basic dimensionally aware technology. Chen nodded, her eyes on the larger patterns forming across space. Throughout Confederation territory, changes were spreading like ripples in a cosmic pond. The carefully maintained facades of both civilizations had fallen away, revealing the true potential that lay beneath. "Show me the education centers," she requested. The display shifted, revealing hundreds of locations where human teachers worked alongside Confederation scientists. They weren't simply transferring technology. They were teaching new ways of thinking, new ways of seeing reality itself. And the results were exceeding even humanity's most optimistic projections. "They're learning faster than we expected," Harrison noted. "Their grasp of quantum mechanics is already approaching our level from 50 years ago. Some of their younger scientists are making intuitive leaps that surprise even our experts." "Because they're not just copying us," Chen replied. "They're combining our knowledge with their own unique perspectives, creating new syntheses we never considered." The evidence was everywhere. Confederation ships now moved through space in ways that defy their own previous understanding of physics. Their worlds were beginning to shimmer with the first layers of quantum engineering. But most importantly, their approach to less advanced civilizations had transformed. The display shifted to show a primitive world the Confederation had been preparing to integrate. Instead of the usual displacement of native development, joint human Confederation observation posts monitored with a light touch, ensuring the species could develop along its own unique path. "Message from First Speaker Corax," Harrison announced. "Their council has just approved the final phase of the transformation accords." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The accords represented everything humanity had hoped for: a framework for genuine cooperation between civilizations, respect for developmental autonomy, and joint exploration of the universe's deeper mysteries. But it was the message that followed that made even her practiced composure slip. "They're here," Harrison whispered. The quantum sensors detected them first. Ships of impossible construction, emerging from layers of reality humanity was only beginning to understand. The Watchers, as humans had dubbed them, had finally chosen to reveal themselves. Their message was simple: "You have passed the test. Both of you." Understanding dawned across two civilizations simultaneously. Humanity's choice to hide and prepare, the Confederation's choice to accept transformation rather than cling to empire. These hadn't just been historical accidents. They had been part of a greater test, a way of determining if younger species could overcome their instincts for dominance and learn to cooperate. "They've been guiding this all along," Harrison breathed. "Everything. Our discovery of the Confederation, our development of quantum technology, their empire-building phase. It was all part of their observation protocol." Chen watched as the Watchers' ships took up position around both human and Confederation space. Not threatening, but inviting. Their next message confirmed everything. "Welcome to the greater community. There is much to learn." In that moment, Chen understood that everything humanity had achieved, everything they had helped the Confederation become, was just the beginning. The real journey, the true exploration of reality's depths, was only now beginning. "Send word to all stations," she ordered, "and to the Confederation. Tell them the universe is bigger than we imagined." As the message spread, as two civilizations that had moved from potential conflict to genuine partnership absorbed the implications, a new understanding emerged. Their story, humanity's patient preparation, the Confederation's choice to transform, would now become part of the guide for other emerging species. Somewhere out in the galaxy, other young civilizations were facing their own choices. Would they choose domination or cooperation? Stagnation or growth? Fear or understanding? And now, for the first time, humanity and the Confederation would help guide them toward the right choices, even as they themselves continued to learn and grow under the tutelage of the Watchers. The future had never been brighter or more filled with possibility. Harrison looked up from her console, her eyes shining with the light of new discoveries waiting to be made. "Orders, Admiral." Chen smiled, watching as the patterns of reality itself seemed to shift with potential. "Let's go meet our new teachers. We got a lot to learn." Above Earth, above the Confederation worlds, above all the spaces in between, new possibilities unfolded like quantum flowers blooming in the garden of space-time. The age of isolation was over. The real adventure was just beginning. The end was just another beginning.